Seriously, Boffo, how the hell do I owe $50 million when I never even made 100,000? Well, I guess you're the accountant. I'll start selling some body parts. Oh, hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. It's tax time around here, which means we're all under pressure and feeling like crap. And yeah, we should feel bad, since the government's taking our money and is probably going to waste most of it. However, you can still feel proud that taxes are getting used for some useful purposes, like roads, schools, and printer paper for government offices. Taxes are important for a nation to function. No matter who you feel pays too much or too little, taxes are unfortunately a necessary evil. And a greatly confusing one because of how crappy and convoluted the tax system is to begin with. And that's why today we're digging into Captain Tax Time #1, a Canadian propaganda comic that states that politicians who want taxes are literally monsters. More on that after the theme song.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara. Let me tell you how it will be.
What I find so greatly amusing right away is the cover price of all things. By 1990, cover prices for Marvel and DC comics would probably average around $1 to $2 American, yet this comic was going for $3.50 American. Although why someone would put a US price on a comic that's talking about the evils of Canadian politicians escapes me at present, especially when you consider that this comic is also an advertisement for Tax Time Tax Services, a business that, according to its own advertisement, does not have franchises in the USA. The cover is just It's not really all that bad, blooming troll demon head taking up most of the space, but which of these two guys is supposed to be Captain Tax Time himself? Neither of the outfits on these guys exactly scream, "I will protect you from taxes," or hell, maybe the troll goblin thing is supposed to be Captain Tax Time. Also, what exactly are they standing on? Is that what the roads look like in Canada? We open to the secret war room of our federal government. Not my federal government. If you want this to be strictly a Canadian thing, don't offer it in a currency not used in your country. Prime Minister Byron Baloney, his cabinet ministers, and top mandarins are hard at work on their favorite project. Is top mandarins? Just how useful is it to have oranges working for you? Okay, I asked about this on Twitter, and the best answer I got was that Mandarin is used in the United Kingdom to describe advisors who are around politicians. So we have UK slang in a word that originated from China in a Canadian comic that is available for purchase in the United States. This comic is very confused. So what is their favorite project exactly? Dreaming up new ways of skinning the taxpayer cat. Of course, we'll put tariffs on Meow Mix imports. Gentlemen, I think we deserve another raise. We need more revenue. What about a new tax? What is left to tax? Ask Mikey. He'll tax anything. He likes taxes. Mikey really likes them. We cut to miles below the surface, where the finance minister of Canada stands, not sits, at his desk. There are several TV monitors behind him for no reason, and obviously he requires such an extensive, technologically advanced office miles beneath the surface because... finance? Here's a thought, maybe this guy loans out his secret underground bunkers to people. It'd explain where the hell the jackal got his. Retired people are dangerous. They have time on their hands and nothing to do but lobby against my revenue-raising schemes.
Homer, would you please stop reading that Ross Perot pamphlet?
Apparently this guy has got a Gollum thing going on since he's talking to himself and speaking in the third person about how he's taking away their pensions. He gets a phone call from the Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister, consider them taxed. Oh, but here's where we finally get to see the true insanity of this comic. As with all finance ministers before him, he begins his evil metamorphosis. That's right, my friends from the North. Every finance minister you've ever had in your nation is actually some kind of shape-shifting monster! I mean, I guess we just assumed that of every politician, but not quite so literally. Oh, and it actually turns out he's talking to a lackey of his named Claw, though this is the first time we see him. Up until now, it seemed like the guy was talking to himself the whole time. As he continues his transformation, which is taking an awfully long time, I must say, he rants and rambles about how they'll take the taxes from the poor and middle classes. We'll stick it to the little guy and the middle guy, that guy God loves. God hates poor and rich people. You are only the chosen of the Lord if you're middle class. I want him to pay. I'll call it the Good Samaritan Tax, GST. Well, thanks for including the acronym there, Mr. Finance Minister. Did you whisper that under your breath for emphasis or something? The common man is a sucker for anything that sounds like it came from the Bible. And yet nobody voted in favor of the crucified while wearing a crown of thorns tax. Go figure. We'll tax everything. Goods, services, even food. You get a tax and you get a tax. I am the Oprah of taxes. Claw voices some minor dissent on this idea. Gee, Grabber, I don't know about food. His name is Finance Minister Grabber? From what province does the Grabber family hail from? Grabber lives up to his name as he goes over to Claw and grabs him by the neck, lifting him up. Also, true fact, when you transform into a demon, your clothes magically disappear. After tossing around Claw for daring to speak out against the taxing food idea, this is going to create such a hostile work environment. Grabber's not acting like a good manager. He leaves to have a press conference while still looking like a demon. What was the point of transforming into that again? And wait, they only just now thought of making the tax. How the hell did they find the time to organize a press conference with what looks like hundreds of people so damn fast? Fellow citizens, friends, I'm here today to carry out a very painful task. I regret I must introduce a new tax. But don't be misled, this is a good tax. Excuse me, if this is a good tax, why is it a painful task for you? Also, why do you look like an orc? Am I the only one who sees this? Grabber says that the new Good Samaritan tax is going to reshuffle their taxes and make it simpler for people to pay it, and that the existing taxes will just be folded into it, and thus people won't pay any more than they already do. Damn, this plan's foolproof. No one will ever actually double-check that to see if his statement is accurate. We cut to a restaurant where we see that nobody buys this for a second. They've gone too far! They're taxing us to death! If only there were some way we could vote them out during elections! It's a pity we live in Canada, home of the goblin people. It's time. Screw Canada, I'm going to invade Molossia! But enough of that scene of vague silhouettes of the backs of people's heads. We cut to somewhere in the Arctic, far from any known place.
Canada calls to ask, what are you guys doing up there?
In the frozen wastes of the Arctic is a lone structure with oddly perspective-drawn corridors. unless this stairway is supposed to curve like this anyway. And we finally meet Captain Tax Time himself. He's apparently the guy from the cover who thinks that stripes equals taxes. Physicists say the universe began with a bang, and T.S. Eliot said it ends with a whimper. Southland Tales said that it ends with a bang and would not shut up about it. But in our hero's case, it began with a whimper. Millions of whimpers from the overtaxed middle and low-income earners. Our hero, like other heroes, is a product of the times. He arose because he was needed. The middle and low-income earners said they needed a hero. They were holding out for a hero until the end of the night. He had to be strong, and he had to be fast, and he had to be fresh from the fight. Who's speedier than a running mandarin? Are bureaucrats usually known for running? Mandarin is also a language, an Iron Man villain, a type of dress, and various other things if you looked it up on Wikipedia, none of which really apply here. Who's as cunning as a politician? Cunning is how you would describe a politician on the West Wing. Not in real life, sorry to say. Who can cut red tape with a single snip? So he's a friend to internet ghosts? And while that's a neat little tagline there, how exactly do you cut red tape, aka a bureaucratic delay, when your only claim to fame is being a vigilante? Also, Captain Tax Time's changing room is apparently a cramped boiler room from the looks of things. Was he that hard up on space in his Arctic headquarters? Anyway, he decides to call up an ally for help. Sergeant Saver. Yeah, because one superhero focused on financial issues simply wasn't enough. Just as I feared, the finance minister has turned into a tax grabber. Is this a disease now? I thought according to the comic, every finance minister was like this. At the urging of Byron Baloney, he has introduced a new and evil plan which will surely tear this country apart. And it's our job to find a way to stop him. Dude, it's just a new tax. If your country is in such a crappy state that one new tax will tear it apart, I think you've got bigger problems than that. Admittedly, I don't know about the parliamentary process of Canada, but I presume that any new taxes proposed probably have to be approved by the governing body, and finance ministers can't just announce new taxes and they're automatically approved. Perhaps it'd be wise to start lobbying Parliament, scheduling meetings, getting the word out about what it means, getting voters in to show how unpopular this is, and fighting through legitimate channels with the threat of the administration getting voted out, and subsequently the finance minister replaced. But let's see what the good Sergeant Saver's idea is as he teleports in. Wipe his slimy existence off the face of the earth.
There is logic in what he says.
Captain Tax Time, however, is against such a thing, but not because of the whole, murder thing. No, that's only a temporary means to an end. Our solution must be a permanent one. If you're waiting for a government to come up with a permanent solution to any problem, you're going to become disappointed very quickly. There must be some other way. Another way better than this criminal GST. The government wants money, but how? I've got it! A bake sale! What about the underground economy? If we could stop the drug lords, crooked corporations, and the criminal kingpins, we would have all the money we need. What? That's right. We would have hundreds of millions from all their money laundering and tax dodges. No, you would have a lot of assets that, while seized by law enforcement, couldn't be used by the government until the criminals were put on trial and found guilty, which is a lengthy process that could stretch from months to years, and that's assuming the case isn't thrown out because of the involvement of costumed vigilantes. And even then, aren't you just giving the government what they want in the first place? The government is full of greedy demons who want more money, so you're just gonna take money from criminals, people that the government doesn't like to begin with, and handing the criminals' money over to the government. You are giving them exactly what they want! Less criminals and more money! And taxes aren't something that just disappear, guys! What do you do next year when tax season rolls around again? This is like trying to stop the flu by putting on a Band-Aid! A Band-Aid that somehow caused more flu! Now we have to get at them. We'll send them a little message by putting a dent in their business. If we hit their employees hard, the kingpins will have to pool their resources to deal with the problem. Then, once they've gotten together, we'll be able to crush them with one final blow. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's a stupid plan! Forgetting for a second how the hell they know who specifically is in organized crime and what their fronts are, how exactly do you plan on taking them all down at once? Do you plan on murdering them? Reporting them to the police? I assume if their identities are publicly known, that agencies are already working to bring them down. So what makes you two so damn special as to bring down all of crime forever? Oh, and the best part? We don't get to see this plan enacted. We immediately cut to the slanting city. Seriously, what's with the perspective where all the buildings are curved? Or are buildings really like that in Canada? Where a caption box on top informs us that the two succeeded? All organized crime in Canada? All of it? Really? Swiftly and efficiently, they brought their plan to reality, and in the weeks that followed, the drug lords began to feel the pinch. Along with them, numerous corrupt corporations began to fall apart. You know, come to think of it, why even bother taking out the leaders? If their efforts are proving so disastrous for the criminal and corrupt, why not keep up what they're doing? And naturally, the criminals are also associated with the grabber, as they're in cahoots, meaning that they are fighting both the government and organized crime.
Lawmakers, lawbreakers, let us fight them all. Why not?
After all the crime bosses complain to the grabber about their recent mishaps, he smashes his fist into the table and tells them all to shut up. Obviously, the root of all our problems is these two meddlesome freaks. If we concentrate all our efforts instead of arguing like childish politicians, we will be able to deal with this annoyance. You know, maybe I don't understand the complexities of the Canadian system, but as a minister, aren't you a politician? Are you calling yourself childish? Then again, you did feel the need to break something when something didn't go your way. Anyway, Captain Tax Time and Sergeant Saver teleport to a building and knock out some guards. And no, this is not the same building the crime lords are meeting at, since they're doing this in order to learn where they're meeting, so I don't even know what the hell they were doing beforehand. Oh shit! You mean sugar. This comic is a piece of sugar. Back to the criminals, the grabber informs them that no one could get in. And the billions you have brought here today will be safely stored in my adamantium vault. Wonderful! Apparently the good people at Tax Time Tax Services are not aware that adamantium is not a real metal. Either that or they felt like ripping off Marvel. Also, why in the hell do you have your money stored in a vault like Scrooge McDuck? Why the hell isn't it in a bank? Our two heroes crash through a window and tell him that the jig is up. Boys, remove them from my sight. Said boys are apparently nude, featureless minions. Maybe the grabber was behind Black Web. Captain Tax Time has the power to shoot energy beams from his hands because lasers have a lot to do with taxes. After beating up several of them, they are confronted by this guy. I may be last, but I'm the best. Dude, what the hell are you wearing? Is that thing around your neck supposed to be a necklace? Is it part of your shirt? Why does your shirt continue around your fingers? Why are nipples painted onto your shirt? Anyway, they kick his ass just like everybody else, so I guess best means exactly like all the rest, and Grabber tries to leave with some of the money from the adamantium vault. However, Captain Tax Time intercepts him. Unleashing his thermal radium blast, Captain Tax Time engulfs the Grabber and Claw in a heated typhoon of energy, one that would destroy normal men. Why even bother doing that? Weren't you the one earlier who said that killing them wouldn't solve anything? But as you can see, the Grabber is no normal man. Yeah, I kind of got that impression when he shape-shifted earlier. Thanks for that new information, comic. Grabber and Claw escape. Son of a... Just when it was about to get good. Well, this is one metal mother who's not gonna let that slime... Wait, you're metal? Sergeant Saver is made of metal? Is he a robot? Perhaps it'd be nice if we established things about who the hell our heroes are. Captain Tax Time says the Grabber is finished and they left behind $30 billion from all the combined crime bosses. Whatever. Shortly after, on Parliament Hill, Sergeant Saver and Captain Tax Time hold a press conference. Hello, I'm Captain Tax Time, and I've got a sock on my head. And Sergeant Saver here is made of metal, I guess, and we just illegally attacked a group of crime bosses and a minister and stole $30 billion. You're welcome! Also, nice that almost half the caption box is empty. Good use of space there. Where they present the $30 billion, graciously donated by the criminal underworld. Yeah, I'm sure there were some starving children or AIDS victims who could have really used $30 billion, but whatever, you can have it, federal government that was trying to tax us just so you could get a raise. Providing the revenue to eliminate the deficit, thusly making the GST unnecessary. Oh yeah, and governments never pass laws that are completely unnecessary, do they? And wait, this was about the deficit? The beginning of the comic said they were greedy and just wanted a raise. How does the donation fix that? And so our comic ends with the Grabber promising that he shall return, with instead of the end, we have the Enforcer, which is probably the name of the guy in silhouette right there in all his genericness. This comic sucks and I don't even know where to start. This is a propaganda piece that implies that all politicians are on the level of criminals and monsters. We have generic superheroes who we know nothing about, and all of this is an advertisement for a tax return service that also apparently teaches classes on tax returns. I don't even know about that, since the back of the comic is pretty ambiguous about what the hell Tax Time Tax Services actually is or does, except that it will help you get lots of money back on your returns. I tried briefly to find out if this place was still around, but unfortunately the name Tax Time Tax Services is so damn generic that it could be anybody. And really, after reading this, would you want to seek their help in preparing your taxes? All I can say is that this is a rough season on everybody, so make sure that when you finish your taxes, you kick back, relax, and read something better than this. Wait a second, what's this $49 million accountant fee? Oh, right, yeah, gotcha. I'll write a check.